Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bad Movie Night. My name's Chris, and tonight I checked out the new Netflix horror movie, Don't Listen. So Don't Listen is the first time feature for director Ángel Gómez Hernández. He's a Spanish filmmaker, and this is a Spanish movie. So the movie's about a family that flips houses, and they purchase this large estate that they're working on. Their son starts to hear voices, and then some supernatural hijinks ensue. They later ask for the help from a paranormal investigator, and then So you've kind of heard the storyline before. It is very much like those Insidious and Conjuring movies in a certain way. Although, like I said, it is a Spanish movie, so it does bring a different kind of perspective that I did enjoy. I liked some aspects of this movie, and I think it's almost to a point where I could have really liked this thing. Like I said, it does feel like an Insidious type thing. I think Insidious was way more effective with its tension building and its scare moments. This movie, none of the horror really worked for me outside of a few visuals. The first 5 minutes of the movie does set this expectation, though, that I was kind of on board for. The first initial kill sequence I thought was really kind of disturbing and well done, and I wasn't expecting the amount of gore that it provided, but unfortunately, besides another few little moments, it doesn't ever really reach that point again, and I think that's the disappointing thing in this movie. Because it's so derivative of all these other ghost movies, like I said, The Conjuring and Insidious, all these predictable moments play out in ways that you kind of expect, except for that opening sequence where it goes a little bit beyond and more gratuitous and more dark in a way that the Insidious and Conjuring movies never could be because they're PG-13. So I just wish they would have pushed the envelope a little bit more, because when they don't, it becomes, again, super derivative of other things you've seen. The production values are great. The acting seems okay. The characters are not really interesting. They don't really have very deep relationships with each other because they don't really interact with each other too much. So this movie is built on what feels like would be important character dynamics that aren't really explored enough to make any of these moments that effective. The ending could be really, really effective if you really felt something for the characters that I just never really felt. The horror moments outside of them being really predictable still just never really work for me. There's lots of those, let's scream as loud as we can, and if you looked at the waveform of the movie, it's probably barely registering to completely peaking, and that's the way of scaring someone. And I've talked about jump scares before. I think they can work. I think a natural climax to a tension-filled scene a lot of times is a jump scare, but in this it just didn't feel like the tension was building enough and you knew exactly what was going to happen, so it just became redundant and just kind of frustrating. The other thing that I thought was kind of weird, and I was kind of hopeful that maybe it meant the movie would go somewhere different, was that the fact that it felt very fast-paced at the beginning. Within 15 minutes of the movie, the parents already think there's something disturbing going on with their child. He's expelled from school because he's not behaving properly. He's talking about hearing ghosts and everything. They waste no time getting into that thing, which led me to think that it knew exactly what it was and it was going to go somewhere beyond that. Meaning, in your typical ghost movie, that's probably about the 30-minute mark where you would get something like that. Your inciting incident would happen. But this, it was already blowing past all that stuff. Within the first 5 minutes, we had a kill sequence and stuff like that. We already knew there was some sort of supernatural thing going on. But unfortunately, the movie plods along in the second half with these paranormal investigators doing all the normal, cliche things we've seen in ghost movies before. And then not till over an hour into the movie do they introduce a whole nother backstory element that wasn't really explored too much, if at all, within the first hour of the movie. So that aspect that they add, this witch type thing, kind of just feels tacked on in some ways. I will say the end I thought was pretty cool. It wraps around with its visuals to the opening shot of the movie. And like I said earlier, if I would have felt something for them, I think the end could have been very effective. Unfortunately, because I didn't really feel anything for the characters, it was a good ending. It didn't compel an emotional response that I think they were going for. So all in all, it's not a bad movie. It's pretty well made. It's just kind of redundant of things you've seen before. And like I said, the Spanish perspective does make it feel a little bit more fresh. I wish the scares would have worked for me, and I'm trying to figure out why they didn't. Maybe it's because I didn't care about the characters, or maybe just the timing wasn't right on some of these tension moments, or maybe it's because I've seen it all before. I'm not quite sure. Outside of a few creepy visuals that this movie goes for and a few gruesome moments, it's just really pretty forgettable. So that's Don't Look. It's out now on Netflix. If you've seen it, let me know what you think, and then let me know what I should be watching. Catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.